It's a fact. You need to put the best people in the field to win the game. A CEO has to make sure that the best talent is hired, retained, and promoted. How does he set the direction? What crucial decisions at moments of stress? How does he put the right leaders in place? Jim Goodnight, CEO of SAS Institute, and Tony Hsieh, CEO of Zappos, know the answers very well. With almost 12,000 employees, SAS Institute has set the standard in human resource practices. So much so that Google went to their headquarters in North Carolina to learn from them.
Google actually sent their HR department to SAS before they went public. And they spent several days there just talking to our human resources people about our benefits programs and how we treated employees. And they, in fact, have used a lot of those when they set up their office.
What makes SAS special? To start with, a flexible 35-hour work week. SAS also offers free child care and medical attention in the headquarters in Cary, North Carolina, as well as gyms, soccer, basketball and softball fields, free massages, dance, golf and tennis classes, abundant quantities of M&Ms every Wednesday morning, and laundry service. And clothes are returned the next day. No wonder Fortune, The Wall Street Journal, Business Week, Working Mother, and Fast Company have profiled its culture.
Healthcare, private healthcare, where that's allowed. Some countries it's not allowed, but where it is, we always provide the private healthcare. Very good vacation allowance, holiday allowances, flexible working hours, good pay, good bonuses if it's been a good year. Everybody will help receive some of the profits of the company. So all of these things add up to a very good working environment.
Above all, Jim Goodnight shows that treating employees well is a profitable strategy. SAS revenues have increased non-stop, even during the NASDAQ tremors of 2000 and the last world economic crisis, reaching $2.43 billion in 2010. In an industry with employee turnaround of 20%, SAS keeps that number at 4.
In a company that treats their employees very harshly, their employee turnover rate is very high. Ours is only about 4%. And that compares with almost 20% in the rest of our industry. So we, in fact, save millions of dollars a year on training costs, recruiting costs, because we don't have to constantly be hiring new employees. So, my belief and my motto is that it's always better to spend money on your employees than it is on headhunters, recruiters, and training and all of that. So it's about the same amount of money, but you end up with a lot more productive company.
Jim Goodnight studied applied mathematics and received a doctorate in statistics at North Carolina State University. In 1976, he founded SAS Institute with a university colleague. From 1976 to 2001, SAS growth figures were in the double digits every year. And in 1999, the company broke the $1 billion revenue mark. It's the largest private software company in the world. 93 of the top 100 companies on the 2010 Fortune Global 500 use SAS programs to perform a variety of tasks in data mining, warehousing, and analysis. Goodnight, worth an estimated $6.9 billion, was ranked 105th on the 2010 Forbes list of the richest people in the world. Goodnight achieved success mainly by ignoring mainstream business ideology and following his own distinctive philosophy about how to run a company.
I think I've always thought that way. I know in some of our early benefits, my wife said, "You're going to give away Cokes and coffee? Why are you giving it away? Every other employee makes them pay for it." And I said, "No, I think that's the right thing to do, to not to be so cheap to believe in your employees that they will, just take what they need and use what they need. And now that's a trend. Now, we started that 35 years ago, and now so many offices you go in, you can now expect there to be coffee there for you or soft drinks.
Goodnight's unconventional methods earned him the title of Business Leader of the Decade by Business Leader magazine in 1999. Tony Hsieh also had a background in hard sciences, but followed his intuition in order to define his own path. In 1995, he graduated from Harvard University with a degree in computer science. After college, Hsieh worked for Oracle, but after 5 months, he found himself dissatisfied with the corporate environment and quit to found Link Exchange.
So in 1996, I co-founded a company called Link Exchange. It was an internet company that specialized in online advertising. And we grew that to about 100 or so people, and then ended up selling the company to Microsoft 2.5 years later for $265 million. But what a lot of people don't know is the real reason why we ended up selling the company. And the real reason was because it became a place that wasn't fun to work at, and the company culture just went completely downhill. I remember when it was just 5 or 10 of us, it was a lot of fun. We were working around the clock, sleeping under our desks, had no idea what day of the week it was, and very exciting as we were growing. And we started hiring friends and friends of friends, and that hiring strategy worked really well until we got to about 20 people. And then we had to start hiring people just based on resumes and interviews, people we didn't know. And we didn't have much experience in hiring people, and so we just didn't know any better to pay attention to company culture. And by the time we got to 100 people, I myself dreaded getting out of bed to go to my own company. And so that's really what led us to sell the company. And this was during the whole internet boom, back when the internet was just getting started. And so we got lucky with the timing. It worked out well financially, and I started investing in a lot of different companies. And over the course of a year, I actually realized that for me, investing was kind of boring. I felt like I was sitting on the sidelines, and I really missed being part of building something. So one of the companies we invested in was this company that sold shoes online, Zappos.com. And so within a year, I ended up joining full-time, and I've been with Zappos ever since.
Coming up, find out how James Goodnight developed one of the most admired business cultures, and what happened when Amazon approached Tony Hsieh and tried to buy Zappos. From ancient to modern times, from the playfield to the workplace, leaders set the direction, but keep moving forward thanks to the people by their side.
The world's uncertain. You and I know that. We can't predict the future. We don't know what the mountain is going to throw at us. So our most important decisions are who we have with us to go climbing with, who we have with us to build our business with, who we have with us to help navigate the uncertainties and to build something exceptional.
It's certainly not an easy job. Internal competition, politics, clash of egos, and mediocrity are just some of the hurdles. The best leaders overcome them, fostering creativity, engagement, and loyalty. They attract talent because they make their companies excellent places to work. Both Goodnight and Hsieh have managed to create a strong and unique culture.
The culture at SAS is it's like an invisible force. Often people will ask, well, what is culture? And it really is it's that force that makes everybody know how to behave and know how to act towards each other, know how to feel about things. So it's just something that's inherent to everybody that works at SAS. So that if somebody comes in that doesn't fit, the culture will surround that person and push them out. So you have to define what is culture, but that's what it is. It's just the way things are done in each organization. So every organization has a culture. It's just some cultures are more friendly, where people are treated with respect. Some cultures are ones where everybody is sort of stabbing each other in the back and trying to get ahead of everybody else.
From the beginning, company culture at Zappos has always been important because I definitely did not want to repeat the same mistake I had made at my previous company. But it wasn't until about 5 years into Zappos that we decided, rather than have company culture being just important, actually let's make it the #1 priority of the company, with the belief that if we get the culture right, then most of the other stuff like delivering great customer service or building a long-term enduring brand or business will just be a natural byproduct of that. And it also came along with our belief that a company's culture and a company's brand are really just two sides of the same coin. We focus on the company culture and make sure all the employees understand the long-term vision of the company, and most of the other stuff just happens very organically and on its own.
As a software developer specialized in business analytics, SAS Institute demands talent in order to thrive and succeed in a competitive market. Its programmers are its building blocks. Yet a good work environment has proved essential to delivering great customer service, similar to the online retailer Zappos.com's CEO, Tony Hsieh.
Zappos is for people to be the same person. It's not really about work-life separation, it's more about work-life integration, and ultimately it's just about life. And if you're going to be spending so many hours working, you might as well be doing something that you're passionate about, that you really believe in, that has meaning to you, and is with other people you really enjoy being around. And so that's what we strive to create at Zappos.
In their entrepreneurial life, Hsieh and Goodnight made crucial decisions. Goodnight is said to have made the best, or at least luckiest, strategic decisions in the technology industry in the past decade. What was it? He didn't take SAS public during the tech boom. At the peak of the tech bubble in 2000, with intense pressure to go public and rake in billions of dollars, Goodnight said no. And thus, he saved his company's culture and also allowed it to be one of the few tech companies to prosper during the 2001 to 2003 tech downturn. If it had been public, pressure from Wall Street would have forced it to cut staff and cut costs. While other companies laid off talented workers, SAS went on a hiring spree, increasing staff and attracting recently dismissed talent. Tony Hsieh had a different approach. He rejected Amazon's first attempt to buy Zappos, but eventually negotiated the terms and sold it in 2009 for approximately $1.2 billion.
In 2005, Amazon approached us and wanted to buy Zappos, and at the time the plan that they were proposing was to buy Zappos, integrate it into Amazon, which is very similar to what they've done with their other acquisitions, and then over time we would kind of lose our identity and join the mothership. And so that wasn't something that we were interested in, and so we said no without even waiting to hear what number they were going to offer. And then in 2009, when we started talking to them again, they said actually this time they would allow us to remain independent and we could continue to grow the Zappos brand and our culture and our way of doing business our way. So from our point of view, it's basically as if we swapped out our board of directors with a new one, and instead of flying to San Francisco once a quarter for a board meeting, I now fly to Seattle once a quarter for a 2-hour meeting, and they've otherwise left us alone, and so we've continued just to grow and operate independently. And so if you come take a tour of our offices, you'll see there's no sign of Amazon around.
Before you develop talent, you have to attract it, making good people decisions critical. Hiring has become an essential function in every company.
Almost all applicants go through our human resources department, where they're screened for the types of traits that we really don't want there. They make the initial screen to decide, will this person fit into the organization or not? Do they seem to have the right skills? And then they are sent to the manager that's actually looking for, that has a job opening that they're looking for, and then that manager will make the decision as to whether or not they would be made an offer. But that initial screening by HR helps us make sure they fit in culturally.
We have 10 core values at Zappos list of 10, which includes things like be adventurous, creative, and open-minded, be humble, embrace and drive change, deliver well through service. And so when we hire people, we actually do 2 sets of interviews. The hiring manager and his or her team will interview for the standard stuff like looking for fit within the team, relevant experience, technical ability, and so on. But then our HR department does a separate set of interviews purely for culture fit, and they have to pass both in order to be hired. So we've passed on a lot of really smart, talented people that we know can make an immediate impact on our top or bottom line, but if they're not good for our culture, then we won't hire them. And so, for example, if someone is really egotistical, we won't hire them because that goes against our be humble value. And one of the ways we test that is when a lot of our candidates are from out of town, so we'll pick them up from the airport in a Zappos shuttle and then give them a tour, and then they'll spend the rest of the day interviewing. Well, at the end of the day of interviews, the recruiter will circle back to the shuttle driver and see how the shuttle driver was treated. And it doesn't matter how well the day of interviews went. If the shuttle driver wasn't treated well, then we won't hire that person. It's not even a question.
Coming up, learn how Jim Goodnight evaluates his direct reports and manages talent. Plus, how Zappos motivates its workforce. In a hyper-competitive world, developing talent is crucial yet challenging. As the options increase, the questions multiply. What are the best incentives? How much should leaders manage? And how much initiative should be left to the company's brightest people?
I think that you have to have enough knowledge to challenge these people. Really talented people don't like being managed by somebody that's much less or doesn't even understand what the problem is. So I find that my preference in R&D is to make sure that someone is in a management role that has had R&D experience. If you put somebody in there that hasn't, then the people that work for them will not have respect for them. So it to me is very important to have very experienced people in particular roles.
In terms of individuals developing within a profession, in many cases, as time goes by, trajectories are developed. Some people follow a path that was defined from the very beginning. However, most of the time, a professional career unfolds with unexpected twists and turns.
There are no specific trajectories for each individual, but we do have the ability to move around inside the company. So after you've been working on a job for 6 months, you have the right to apply and move to other positions. So I think that's also a good feature for a company to have, that if somebody is not happy where they currently are, give them the opportunity to move somewhere else in the company. So all of our open job positions are posted first inside the company, so everybody inside the company can see if is there a job they'd like to move to. So I think that's very, very helpful in retaining people. You know, the number one reason why people leave their job is their manager. That's number one. It's not the company, it's not what they do, it's because they just don't like their manager. So if you allow people to move around inside the organization, they can find a job that they really like, that they're good at, and that they get along well with their manager.
Attracting, motivating, and developing are necessary in order to engage talent. Evaluating is another issue to consider. How does the CEO of SAS evaluate? Does he conduct quarterly assessments of his direct reports?
Well, I never do that. No, I don't believe in it. If they get a good raise, they know they've done well. And besides, I'm in communication with my reports on a daily basis. So these kind of discussions about direction, what we ought to be doing, happen all the time. So that's the reason I don't feel like I need to sit down and do some kind of a formal evaluation. You know, we have an evaluation every day. I know we had one of my managers was telling me that they really look forward to doing their evaluations because they got to sit and talk to their employee. And I'm thinking, why aren't you doing that every day anyway?
In recent years, work-life balance has become a hot topic. Companies must consider how employees deal with the complexities of work while also maintaining a happy personal life.
A big part of what makes people happy is just about being true to themselves. And I think that's actually really hard to find because a lot of people are a different person at home versus in the office. And you know, in the office they end up leaving a little part of themselves, or in a lot of cases a big part of themselves at home, because they can't be true to themselves, they can't be themselves. And the environment we try to create at Zappos is for people to be the same person. It's not really about work-life separation, it's more about work-life integration, and ultimately it's just about life. And if you're going to be spending so many hours working, you might as well be doing something that you're passionate about, that you really believe in, that has meaning to you, and is with other people you really enjoy being around. And so that's what we strive to create at Zappos.
Quite frankly, working too much at the office is not very good for your home life. And if your home life is destroyed because of your work, then you're not going to work very well. So I would much rather see people, you know, spend the 35 hours at work, but then spend the rest of the time at home with the family. It makes for a much healthier life, a much happier life for everybody to do that. Also, I have noted over the years, especially in R&D, that when people stay working late on projects, quite often the next day they spend fixing all the problems they created by working late. So when you work late, you're not at your peak. You're doing subpar work that often you have to spend the next day fixing it up. So you basically wasted that time at night because you're having to spend the next day correcting it. So that's why I believe, you know, work your 35 hours and then go home and relax, be with your family, come back rested and ready to work the next day. I think it creates a much more productive employee.
Every leader has a particular management style. Goodnight's leadership philosophy has proven successful for 35 years in a row. He has built a company to last, not to sell. And fortunately for us, he is not shy in revealing the main leadership lesson that he has learned over time.
I think probably the main thing is you've got to trust everybody that works for you. You've got to treat them like they really make a difference. And if you do that, they will make a difference because they understand the feeling of trust and they have a feeling of loyalty. So I think that's probably the number one thing. Think the best of the people that work for you. You know, believe in them as people that they will do the right thing.
Trust and confidence are the basic components in Goodnight's leadership success. Delivering happiness is Shea's magic formula. All very humane characteristics and good lessons for leaders in every field.